Just a reminder that there's only a couple days left to pick up some limited edition Halloween merch. If you want to support the channel and look spooky as hell, go ahead and hit that link in the description. It'll take you over to my merch page. And yeah, so it also actually comes with a Boo keychain as well, because free stuff. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon Wi-Fi battle. Today I have an underused match. This one's against Ryan, and this is a new team that I threw together that's actually pretty damn fun. I brought some stuff like Choice Band Entei, Mega Sharpedo, overall just some stuff that hasn't gotten out the PC box in forever, so it's time to stretch the old legs out. This team is actually pretty damn scary because of the defensive core with especially defensive Registeel along with physically defensive Mantine. It's pretty damn hard to play against, but yeah, looking at my opponent's team, he does have some pretty big threats as well with the Raikou. I got the Kyurem. I'm honestly afraid of the Crocodile, but overall he's got a pretty well-rounded squad, and this is actually a really good match, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to lead off with my Registeel, send out the old Doorknob, as I do want to kind of just get the Stealth Rock up. Wasn't really sure what he was going to want to lead with, and he turns out to go with the Crocodile, so young gold member comes out, and I don't really want to take an Earthquake. I know that Registeel is looking super useful against his team, so I'm going to switch out directly into my Mantine here, hoping that he just decides to either go for his own rocks or just an Earthquake, as he's going to make a nice play, predicts the switch, and goes for the knockoff. So Steve doesn't really enjoy that too much, although I do have recovery with Roost, so I can get that HP back, but I'm going to go for a Toxic here, as he's going to end up switching into the Raikou. So obviously your boy Steve Irwin doesn't really want much to do with this electric ass kitty, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the play into my Nidoking. I know he's probably not gonna want to go for an electric attack right off the bat because easily predictable, especially when I have a ground type laying around. So I decided to bring this thing in because I know that I can take at least one attack from it, and then being Choice Scarf, I can actually outspeed and then end up knocking it out with an Earth Power if he decides to stay in. So he ends up going for the Shadow Ball there. Nice play, it does about half to me. And the bluest boy all around here is going to end up going for an Earth Power, as he's going to decide to switch into his Sylveon, which is an interesting play. He basically just banks on the fact that he hopes that I'm going to be Choice Scarf, but seeing as I switched into the Raikou on a hard switch, he can pretty much tell that I am going to be Scarfed there. So unfortunately, I can't switch moves and go for a Sludge Wave, which does suck. But what I can do is go right back into Registeel, who has a great matchup against this thing. Sylveon really cannot hurt me, can't poison me. I can't really set up or do anything. So he ends up going for the Heal Bell, which is kind of annoying. He gets rid of that poison on the Raikou, but not too big of a deal. At least now I know he does have that laying around, which is kind of unfortunate. This team does rely on getting chip damage with Toxic and things like that. But he's going to go ahead and switch right back into his Crocodile. He obviously can't lower me because I'm clear as hell. And this allows me to set up my Stealth Rock, which is nice because I'm expecting a whole lot of switching to be going down. So here's actually a really risky play. I decided to stay in, hoping that he'd over-predict and switch me to, predict me to go into my Mantine. So he actually ends up going for the Stone Edge there. It works out for me because I'm able to take that nicely. And I go for an Iron Head, which does pretty much nothing to this thing because Registeel has no offensive presence whatsoever. But he is now forced to switch because I did expect him to be Choice Scarf. And now he's able to bring in his own Mantine. So takes a bit from the Stealth Rock. I'm able to then go for a Toxic, and now he's going to have to bring back in that Sylveon if he wants to get rid of that. So Registeel just doing what he does best, essentially just out here just being annoying as hell. So I expect this thing to probably want to go for a Defog to get rid of the rocks on his end. So I'm pretty much free to switch into whatever I'd like at this point, but I don't have a whole lot to really take care of this Mantine. I decided to go into my Sharpedo here just because I know that the worst case scenario he can just go for a Scald and end up burning me, which would suck, but it was pretty safe because I could tell he's going to go for the Defog there. So he does get rid of the Stealth Rock, which does suck, but this thing's in here eating some leftovers, getting hurt by some poison, and Sharpedo has a decent matchup here, seeing as I can pretty much easily 2-hit KO with a Crunch, and he can't do much to me. So I decided to go ahead and Mega Evolve here, as he's going to end up bringing in the damn Ribbon Fairy thing. I hate Sylveon. For some reason, these things have been running around UU so much lately, and they're just so difficult to take care of. But I go for the Crunch there. After the Mega Evolution, it's still not going to do very much because Sylveon's a bitch. And I'm expecting this thing to probably be more of a support set with like Wish, Protect, a status condition. I did see Heal Bell as well, so actually he probably does have Hyper Voice. But I'm going to switch right back into my Registeel again because I really have no reason not to. Registeel is just too damn good against this thing. As he does show me, he ends up having Wish there. So that does kind of suck. He also can go for the Heal Bell here to get rid of the poison on his Mantine. But he ends up going for the Protect. So actually he does end up having Wish Protect with Heal Bell. So then I guess his last slot would probably be Hyper Voice. But I end up just setting up my Stealth Rock again there because the Protect is pretty obvious. And he's going to get back to full health. But he can't stay in for much longer because he knows that he does not have shit to do to my big-ass ball of steel. And he's going to end up switching into his Aggron. So we got two of the biggest absolute units out here. Cannot believe the size of this lad. As I end up actually switching as well, and I go into my Entei. So this isn't the worst matchup for me. I know that I should be able to take at least one Earthquake from this thing. And then two Choice Banded Sacred Fire should be able to knock this thing out. But he is going to obviously transform into his true form. Now he's even bigger. Look at this. This thing is massive. But I go for a Sacred Fire here. It is going to be enough for it to hit KO. Hoping for the burn, but I don't get it. And now he goes for the Earthquake. And unfortunately, Entei gets absolutely destroyed by a critical hit. So that sucks. That is going to be able to knock me out. I believe I would have been able to live that with like 30% had it not been a crit. But you hate to see it. And at least now I decide to go into my Haxorus. I'm thinking this is a decent opportunity for me to start setting up here, because I know that I can knock it out at this range with an Earthquake. Plus, I should be able to take a hit from this thing. So I go ahead and dance up a little bit as he ends up going for a rest. And I'm like, oh shit, I did not expect that whatsoever. But this actually works out because now he's pretty much forced to switch and I can get another Dragon Dance up. And it's looking like Haxorus is about to do his thing. So he does end up switching out here. He's going to go right back into the Mantine as he's expecting the Earthquake or whatever. But he gets hurt by some rocks as I'm going to go ahead and dance one more time. So I'm at +2 speed and +2 physical attack. I should be able to pretty much knock anything out at this point. So Mantine chilling at half health is not going to be looking too good against the beast that is Haxorus. Honestly, I don't remember why the hell I named this thing Tina, but I missed you, Tina. You're pretty great. So I have to go for the Poison Jab there. That way I don't lock myself into Outrage, which is my only other attacking move other than Earthquake. But now he's going to bring in the Crocodile, and this Intimidate actually kind of fucks some things up. So he's going to set me down to only +1 physical attack, as I am forced to go for the Dragonium Z here, rather than clicking the Outrage slot, because he does have that Sylveon laying around, so he'd be able to bring that thing in, which obviously is not affected by Dragon. So I have to hit him with the Devastating Drake, and that is pretty damn good because Haxorus is doing a number to his team. So I absolutely destroy the hell out of that Crocodile. And yeah, so being at only +1 though, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to knock out his Sylveon with a Poison Jab at full health. So for that reason, I am actually forced to end up switching here. Had I been still at +2, I would have been okay, which is why I really wish it was a damn Moxie Crocodile. But unfortunately, it's not, and I have to go right back into the Doorknob, who absolutely absorbed the shit out of that Hyper Voice. You are not making a scratch on especially defensive Registeel. I'll tell you that much. This thing is proven to be super useful, even though I believe it's actually just in the RU tier. It definitely holds its own in underused, even without being able to do much offensively. But here, I'm going to go ahead and double switch right back into my Sharpedo. I think I was expecting a switch maybe back into the Aggron, but he ends up staying in, and now he goes for another Heal Bell, which does actually wake up the Aggron. So freaking Megatron is now awakened at the bottom of the ocean, and that's not the best news. But I don't really just want to switch out here. I decided to just stay in and go for a Liquidation to do as much damage as possible. I didn't think that Sharpedo needed to really hang around, so I decided to pretty much just sack this thing off. He does die to a Hyper Voice, which is unfortunate. But at least I was able to whittle that damn Sylveon down a little bit to put it in range to maybe be able to take it out here, as I decide to go right back into my Trace Scarf Nidoking. So I know that he does have that Aggron, which is why I can't safely go for the Sludge Wave. So I go for the Earth Power, expecting a switch into that Aggron, but then he just has Protect, so he can kind of just scout out what I was going to go for there, and that does kind of blow. But he can't really stay in because actually Hyper Voice doesn't knock me out. So even though I am locked into Earth Power, he is actually going to switch back into the Aggron here, who, unfortunately for him, is not going to be able to take 2 Earth Powers. So that first one is going to do a solid chunk. Obviously, I'm faster because that thing is just fat as hell, and one more Earth Power is going to take care of that thing. So I assume he just decided to sack that thing off to be able to get a free switch in on a better matchup against my Nidoking, as now he's going to bring in the Kyurem, which we have not seen yet, and I don't see these things a whole lot, honestly. But when I do, I generally expect them to be choice specs, just hitting hard with things like Earth Power, Ice Beam, Draco Meteor. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch right back into Registeel. Pretty much the theme of the match here. This thing is just an absolute unit. So he goes for an Ice Beam, obviously not gonna hurt me too bad, and he is not really gonna be able to stay in here because I do expect him to be specs. Seeing that damage, it's kind of hard to tell, but he is gonna end up switching, which tells me he is probably specs, and I go right for, I actually think I go for a Toxic here, as he's gonna bring back in the Raikou again, as yeah, I do go for another Toxic. So Registeel, just an absolute annoying piece of metal. Honestly, you hate to play against this thing, and I do kind of hate playing like with Stally Mons, but this defensive core is just absolutely nuts. Honestly, you can just switch out this thing on Earthquakes right back and right into Mantine, and they do work with pretty decent synergy. So here he goes for Hidden Power. I'm guessing he expected a switch, but I decided to just stay in here and see what he wanted to go for. I go for the Iron Head just because I didn't really have anything else to click, as it does like nothing. But I have no reason to really switch out here because Registeel can just kind of hang out, eat some leftovers, and just absolutely, absorb this thing's attack. So he is going to end up switching out here again. He decides to go into the Sylveon. I assume to just get a Wish Up and then be able to transfer that. But the Iron Head is going to do a decent chunk. It's looking like it has a chance to maybe knock this thing out, but then after leftovers, probably not too likely. And then I'm just thinking this thing's going to Wish, and it's like, oh, just two of the most annoying fucking Pokemon out here at the same time. But he goes for the Heal Bell. He is going to get rid of that poison again. This Sylveon just ringing its bells all damn day. And I'm just out here just smacking this thing with my big ass head, which actually that ends up knocking it out. So I believe I got some max damage there, unless I read that incorrectly. But look at Registeel, just killing shit like it's nobody's business. But so now he's gonna bring back in the Kyurem. He's able to choose a new move here. I'm expecting it to be Earth Power, and I also know that I'm able to take at least one of these. I don't know if it's gonna be a 2-hit KO, but he does end up going for the Earth Power here. Registeel does not give a shit, and I'm able to live that with over half, which is amazing. Can go for another Iron Head, which doesn't quite knock this thing out. But I'm also thinking that it would be nice to save this Registeel just in case, and I have no reason not to switch into my Mantine here because I know that he's locked into the Earth Power, so I can bring out the boy Steve and just kind of, float above that there Earth Power. So that's pretty nice. Unfortunately for him, the Stealth Rock is still up, so the next time he's able to bring in that Kyurem, it's actually going to end up going down to the Stealth Rock damage. So he is forced to switch. He ends up going into the Raikou here. I can go ahead and throw a Hot Water at it, which is going to be able to knock this thing out. And his last Pokemon is that Ice-Ass Dragon. So that thing really can't do much. All it can do is come in, die to the Stealth Rock, and that is going to be the end of the match there. So that's a prime example of my wall core just being absolutely annoying, and it kind of worked out for me. So thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and hit that like button on this video if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.